Hey everybody, Brandy here from Stamp Me Some Love. Today I've got a quick tutorial. I want to show you how I created this striped patterned background using a single stamp and how I created those straight lines on a diagonal. Alright, let's get started. Okay, this is the card up close. You'll see that I created that background behind the poinsettia and I used a stamp from Maker Forte. It's this long striped stamp along the side here, and this stamp set is called Wrapped Christmas. You're going to need a Misti in order to do this technique, or some other type of stamp positioner. I recommend the Misti, but you can use other types of stamp positioners as long as you're able to use some sort of grid system. I like the Misti because you can get this graph paper that will fit right in the area there, but you can use whatever graph paper you want. I like to laminate the graph paper so I can use it over and over again. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a piece of paper, or however large of paper that you want to do your card background. And in this case, I used a card background that was 5 1/4 by 4, I believe. And you want to adhere it down to the graph paper. Now I'm going to use some mini glue dots, and you want to make sure that you put 2 dots down so it doesn't rotate on you. You could actually tape it on the front side, but I prefer using glue dots, and this allows me not to mess up any of the front side of the card. Once you have the card down, then you're going to position the long stamp along the grid lines of the paper below it. And I'm just going to put my stamp right here, and then I'm going to use the magnets to make sure that the grid paper is staying in place. Then I'm going to use some ink, and in this case I'm going to be using some of the Cardinal red of scrapbook.com. Alright, so I'm going to pick up the stamp with that door and push that graph paper back into the corner to make sure it's going to be positioned in the same place each time I stamp it. I'm going to ink up that stamp, and you'll notice that on this one I probably wasted a little bit too much ink because I stamped up almost the entire stamp before I realized that I was only going to be getting a piece of that paper inked up. Alright, then open up the door gently. Make sure that you push that paper or that graph paper back into that corner if it has moved. And then I'm just going to ink it up again and close the door back on it just to give it a nice crisp image. We're going to reposition the stamp, but before we do that we need to clean it off. So I'm just going to be using some of the Ranger water-based stamp cleaner and a micro cloth towel just to clean it off. And then I'm going to lift up the stamp, and now I'm going to use that grid paper and I'm going to go over 2 squares, and in this case those squares represent 1/4 inch. So I'm going to use the graph paper to kind of line it up so I have my stamp completely straight up and down on that paper. And then I'm going to give it a good push again and make sure it's here to the door. And then I'm just going to repeat this process. I'm going to ink up the stamp it a couple of times, make sure it's completely inked up, and then clean the stamp again and repeat that process until I have the entire background stamped up. Now that we're done with the background, we're just going to gently lift up the background that we've created there. I'm twisting it a little bit because I still have those glue dots on the back of it. But if I hold it up close here, you'll see how beautiful and straight those lines are. It really does add a beautiful dimension to the background of the card that I'm creating. Now, what is so nice about using the Misti and a laminated grid paper for this project is that you can just wipe it off and reuse it again for another card. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this quick tutorial on how to create your own striped backgrounds using your Misti or your stamp positioner. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please do me a big favor and give me a big thumbs up. And also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I would also like you to join my Facebook group, the Card Maker and Crafty Corner, and I will have a link down below for that group where you can join. We're going to be doing live demos in there and also some really creative challenges. I would encourage you to join that group. All the supplies I used for this card are also in the description below. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video.